Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Are women commanded in the laws of Shemiras Eiynayim? So we're all aware regarding the restrictions and regulations applicable towards a man that he may not look at a woman, thus making it necessary for him to guard his eyes. Does this likewise apply from a woman looking at a man? Are there any restrictions involved? May a woman look at a man innocently? What if he's not properly clothed, doesn't have a shirt on, is wearing shorts? And is there a prohibition? And if there is, what is the prohibition against looking at a man for promiscuous reasons, or scenes that involve promiscuity, as is very common in today's movie industry and the like? So the Rav in Seagate in his Tshuva, Shurashai, Volume 1, Tshuva 125, writes a very interesting novelty, that women are prohibited in Shemiras Eiynayim just like men. And just like a man is not allowed to look at a woman is not allowed to look at a man. And therefore he concludes that the woman's section of a shul is to be built in a way that just like men can't see the woman cannot see the men. And he brings a proof from the Medrash, the Yalkut Shemini, Shmuel Remez 105, which states that Bnei Yisrael, in the times of Shaul HaMelech, were having a conversation with him, and instead of ending the conversation quickly, they lengthened the discussion, and the Medrash asks, why did they lengthen the discussion? And one of those answers are, as they enjoyed the handsomeness, the beauty of Shaul HaMelech, and they wanted to continue gazing at him. To which Rabbi Yossi replies in the Medrash, if this is the commentary, if this is the explanation of why they lengthened the discussion, you have turned the Jewish girls into Zionist, into harlots, into promiscuous women. And he continues, as just as it is forbidden for a man to gaze for pleasure at a woman who is not his, so too it is forbidden for a woman to gaze for pleasure at a man who is not hers. So concludes the Shurashai, we see clearly that the Isser of Shemiras Eiynayim applies likewise from woman to men and not just from men to women. However, the majority of Peiskei Dereinu do not agree with this approach. In the entire Talmud and Shulchanaruch, when it deals with the laws of Shemiras Eiynayim in chapter 75 in Arachayim, for example, when a man cannot daven as a Kriya Shema in face of a woman who is not properly dressed. In all those detailed laws, no mention is ever made of the opposite case, of a woman davening or learning Torah in face of a man who is not properly dressed, which tends to imply that there is no Isser of Shemiras Eiynayim from a woman to a man. And so concludes the Aruch HaShulchan in chapter 75, Halacha 5, and so discusses in great length Rav Yael Teitelbaum of Satmar in a letter printed in Taras Yonta, volume 6, completely negating the opinion of his predecessor, the Shurashai from Seagate. And so also concludes Shevet HaLevi, volume 5, Tshuva 197, and other Achrei Zmanenu, that we have never heard or seen from our ancestors or rabbis that we suspected for Shemiras Eiynayim from a woman to a man, and therefore there is no need to prevent women from looking at the men's section in a shul, and they don't need an extra blocking mechitza. And they bring proofs from the Talmud itself. The Gemara in Sukkah 51b states that by the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, the women were positioned on top and would watch the men dance. In Brachas 28 says that Rabbi Yechon would sit by the mikveh and the woman would gaze at his beauty. So we clearly see we have Talmudic proof that there is no worry of Shemiras Eiynayim from a woman to a man. What then do we do with the Yalkut Shemini? Clearly states it's prohibited. So explains the Shevet HaLevi a very logical and truthful clarification. And that is as follows. There's a big difference between innocent sight, innocent looking not involving sexual pleasure, and a stare that has sexual stimulation. In innocent sight and innocent look, that the mind isn't starting to go other places, is only prohibited from a man to a woman, and not to the contrary from a woman to a man. As the psyche of a man is, that even an innocent gaze can momentarily turn into one of sexual stimulation, and therefore by a man all the strict halachas apply of Shemiras Eiynayim. However, by a woman whose psyche was built very different, an innocent gaze will not automatically and consequently and momentarily lead to forbidden thoughts, and thus it is not viewed as promiscuous, and it is permitted. However, concludes the Shevet HaLevi, that if in truth this gaze does have those forbidden intentions involved, she is looking for stimulation, she is looking and steering and gazing for arousal purposes, then such a thing is asur min HaTorah, just like a man, no difference. And that's the pshat in the Yalkut Shemini. And so also concludes the Divrei Yatziv in 535, Shlomo Zalman Auerbach brought in Svarim of Pesach Zmanenu. And so writes the Igros Moshe and Even Ezer, Volume 1, Tshuva 69. And it is clear that just like a man is biblically prohibited from looking at a woman for the sake of sexual pleasure, it is biblically forbidden for a woman to look at another man for those purposes, and one who does so transgresses the verse, not to swerve after one's heart and one's eyes, which makes no differentiation between male and female, and is also included in the biblical prohibition of leisikrav, as brought in the Mechaber Even Ezer, chapter 21, halacha 2, a list of things forbidden that a man may not do with an erva, and the same applies vice versa, that an erva may not do with a man. And one of them is steering for the sake of sexual pleasure and stimulation. All this is irrelevant to the discussion if the prohibition of Zer Levatala is applicable to women or not, as the reason behind this biblical prohibition is not because it can lead to Zer Levatala, but because the innate involvement in the promiscuous behavior of steering for promiscuous reasons is itself innately an Isser Deraisa. But in addition to this, it's also true that according to some Poskim and according to the Mekubalim, women too are prohibited in the Isser of Zer Levatala. So to summarize halacha l'maisa, it is permitted for a woman to look with an innocent gaze at another man, and she's allowed to look at the men's section during davening. And even if a man is not modestly dressed, he's wearing shorts, he doesn't have a shirt on, there's no Isser to innocently look at the person or to daven and learn Torah in his presence, so long as it does not stimulate forbidden thoughts. The second that the looking is for the sake of stimulating forbidden thoughts, or it's beginning to enter the mind, it becomes a biblical prohibition to learn Torah or daven in the presence. And even outside of Torah learning and davening, it's forbidden for her to look. So in answer, may a woman look at scenes that are immodest and promiscuous, involving a man or a man and a woman together? The answer is it's 100% a biblical prohibition for a woman just like for a man, and there's no difference. And thus, the laws of Shemiras Eiynayim in this regard are for women as well. And for this reason, just as we emphasize the necessity of having a filter on the internet to prevent promiscuous pictures and videos, etc., from reaching the eyes of a Jewish male, the same applies for a Jewish female. And this is considered part of the Gidrei of Ezrayu de Arayas, of making fences around Arayas, and to prevent the transgression of Leisasuru Achri Levavchem V'Achrei Neichem.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.